content, subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, and like our posts.
All right, a very good morning to everyone, wherever you may be in the country and some people around the world. Always good to be back. Happy Wednesday. Webinar Wednesday has come back again. Excuse me for the, I don't know how many times, but it's been here a long time, since the third day of the pandemic, which we don't want to talk about right now. But yeah, great. Please let us know where you're from. It's good to be part of this, and it's a very exciting one this morning. You know, on our long journey with one of the big partners of NSBC, Experian, of course, on the How to Be Financially Fit campaign. It's one of the biggest, most important issues, of course, for any business owner, entrepreneur, and for SMEs in the country to be financially fit. And of course, I've got a very special guest, but before I bring her on stage, I just want to say to you guys, please tell us where you're from and a few key in-house questions. If we lose you technology-wise, don't leave us, we will be back. That's the life we live in on technology. But tell us where you're from. And of course, if you've got any questions, pop them into the chat. And if we don't get to you, we apologize for that, because we have a big audience this morning, but we will get back to you after this webinar with the questions that you post. So please tell us where you're from, and tell us why you're excited about what's coming up this year. And for those of you out there who haven't registered yet for the Business Show Africa, it's on our doorstep in a few weeks' time. The Business Show Africa is coming soon. Please, if you haven't registered, register, join us at the event. But of course, this morning, we've got Ans Gerber, who is of course, one of the executives of Experian, the head digital insight and marketing service. Ans, a very good morning to you, and as always, a great friend of the NSBC. As we know, Experian is one of the big powerhouses behind SME South Africa, and without organizations like yourselves and people like you, Ans, we can't do what we do. And what we do is help SMEs stay there, grow bigger, so that they can employ others. A very good morning to you, Ans, and lovely to have you on board again.
Morning, Mike, and thanks for having me. Absolutely, 100%. We believe that SMEs is really the growth point for this country's economy, and from our side, we do our best to enable small businesses.
Yes, and as we know that Experian is a huge partner of the NSBC, and for authentic reasons and reasons that you simply want to help, and you know, and becoming financially fit is such an important issue. It's the backbone, it's the foundation of every SME. And we do know over the past 2 years that your input, your education, your insights into helping SMEs improve in what they do and grow bigger has been absolutely full of gratitude, and we appreciate your involvement.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, and we believe that financial wellness and financial fitness really starts with the consumer. I realize small business is the name of the game here, but what we've seen from the Bureau is that in many instances, small business owners and entrepreneurs actually start out with their business career journey in their personal capacity.
Yes.
So that's the first important thing to mention. So as small business owners, we really need to make 100% sure that our personal finances are in order, because we're probably going to apply for credit firstly in our personal capacity. But then secondly, when small businesses in their business capacity apply for credit, then the personal credit wellness of the principals or the owners of the business again come into play. So we can't really afford to say, yeah, but my personal financial wellness doesn't really play a part because I'm here in a business context. That's not true. SMEs are in this special place where it's in a crossover from consumer to big business. So these two worlds really merge. So it's really important that as small business owners, we take ownership of our financial fitness.
Yeah, and Ans, while we're talking about small business, and I just want to give you an insight, Ans, and to our listeners and to our attendees this morning, is that we do know that the Business Show Africa is coming up on the 4th and 5th of September, and the Experian plays a major role there. And I know that one of the biggest attractions at the Business Show Africa is the Access to Finance Zone, which of course is powered by Experian in association with FinFine. And we do know that we're going to become, well, at the Access to Finance Zone, there'll be a global first, a massive launch, and we're going to revolutionize on how business owners can access funding and what they need to do to access funding. So I'm super excited about this. It's been in the making for a long time, as you know. We've been engaging over the past few years with you and your team. And so to everybody out there, you've got to be at the Business Show Africa. It's a revolution, a revolutionary breakthrough access to finance zone powered by Experian in association with FinFund. You've got to be at the show. If you haven't registered, please register for the Business Show Africa, because Experian are one of the major players who will be over the 2 days. Now, I've got a couple of questions this morning, and just to let our attendees know, the topic of this morning is debt dilemma, household income and credit use. Now, we know debt, the word debt is a negative word, but we know that if we understand debt and know how to overcome it, then we're halfway there. So we're going to talk around that, Ans, this morning, and I've got a couple of questions here this morning for you. If you don't mind me, I'm going to kick off. And Ans, how are South Africans coping with the current economic climate?
So let's just paint a picture maybe first, Mike, in terms of what the current economic climate actually is. So firstly, we know that in the midst of COVID, I know you said earlier we don't want to speak about COVID, but we have to go there a little bit. In the midst of COVID, we found that the South African government actually dropped interest rates to stimulate the South African economy, which was a great thing at the time. Many consumers that never previously qualified for credit now qualified for credit, and they actually took up the higher value credit products. Here we're speaking specifically about things like vehicle and home loans, that sort of thing. So definitely a bigger take up in credit in that period when consumers qualified to a greater extent for credit. Now, fast forward this video around 2 years or so, and we saw an increase in interest rates starting from September 2021. And that was a rapid interest rate increase that we saw. I haven't seen this in a very long time. So young consumers that typically may have qualified for credit for the first time in the beginning parts of COVID, now all of a sudden had to deal with something they've never ever seen before, this rapid increase cycle. And what we've seen over the last more than a year is a sustained high interest rate. So credit is expensive for consumers, and many consumers have taken up credit to a higher degree than they did prior to the onset of COVID, especially those consumers that still qualified for credit in terms of having a good credit score and that are younger. Mm-hmm. So that's the first sort of element of the picture of the current situation. Credit is really expensive and remains to be expensive. Another part of this picture is that of the consumer price inflation, or the cost of living. Cost of living has seen rapid increases over the last 2 years or so. The rate of increase has come down of late. We see the latest results by Stats SA saying that we're at a 5.1 for CPI, which is great news in terms of the rate of increase of cost of living coming down, but it's still increasing, and we're not at the point where the Reserve Bank actually wants us to be, which is around 4.5%. We are within the band of 3 to 6%, but not at the point yet where the Reserve Bank wants South Africans to be. So cost of living is still increasing, and that means that not just credit active consumers, but in fact all South African consumers, whether or not they are credit active, are impacted by that increase in cost of living. So that paints the picture of where consumers are currently at in terms of the environment. Mm-hmm. Now, the way that many consumers try to deal with that is through credit. And we've seen this from the data from the National Credit Regulator that's published quarterly, where we see the rate at which credit applications have been made has increased at a staggering rate, Mike. That's really been quite astounding. Mm-hmm. Now, adding further insult to injury, consumers are looking to credit to solve this income or this sort of cost of living gap, but only a third of the time, less than a third of the time, actually, this credit is granted. So definitely consumers are looking to credit to cover the expense gaps, but less than a third of the time that credit is in fact granted.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I mean, I've had an interesting journey with the Experian team, and I've learned an enormous amount. And, we do ongoing surveys all the time. around access to funding. And business owners, I'm getting a few WhatsApps right now. I'm not getting my applications approved, or what do I need to do? And I think we've got to, and I want to mention this a few times, and I do it all the time, is we've got to become credit ready. Not necessarily access credit, but become credit ready. And I know one of the first things that you need to do, and the misdemeanor around on credit worthiness, we have to check our credit scores at least every quarter. Everybody out there thinks that that's expensive, or it's unnecessary, or whatever. What I've learned from the Experian team, to all our attendees out there, is that you can fix your own credit score anytime. Check your credit score at least every quarter. It doesn't cost you anything. And at the end of this discussion, please watch the video on the Up app. You've got to download the Up app, and you've got to check your credit score. It's the foundation of financial success. And what's amazing about the Experian team is that if something is wrong with your credit score, they will help you to change it. So please, everybody out there, check your credit score at least every quarter. And if something is wrong, you are in control of your own credit score. The Experian team with the NSBC will help you change it, become credit ready, and become financially fit. So Ans, if you don't mind me popping that in there, it's so important. And I see so many casualties out there, and people say, well, the bank doesn't give me money, the banks don't lend money. It's got nothing to do with the bank. Everything is on the onus of the business owner on what you need to do to access funding. Show your ability to repay the loan and become credit worthy. So please, everybody out there, it's vitally important. Now, Ans, I've got another question for you. What are the psychological factors behind excessive credit card use?
Well, I'm no psychologist, Mike, but I think there's two key elements to this that sort of drive people towards credit, other than bridging the cost of living gap. And these are things that I think we should be very honest with ourselves about, and be very clear on what the implication of this behavior is. So firstly, I believe this notion of keeping up with the Joneses, I don't know if you've heard about that, or keeping up with the commandments. Consumers need to be very honest with themselves about the reasons why they are applying for credit. If it is a matter of keeping up with my neighbor, or being perceived by society as something specific, be very honest and understand if this credit that you want to enter into, this credit agreement that you want to enter into now, is it to address a need, or is it to address a want? So I think the first thing that we need to consider when applying for credit is this for me keeping up with the Kumalos, or do I actually need this credit to do what I need to do? That's the first thing. Another thing we've seen with consumers, and these are lessons that we learned through our consumer care center, where consumers can actually engage with Experian directly if they've got questions about what's going on in their credit report. And that specifically speaks to the notion of, if I don't feel well, I can go to retail therapy. I don't know if you've heard about that notion. So let me spend some money, and then I just feel better about life in general, and we should also be very clear about that one and be honest with ourselves. Is that the reason why we want to incur debt to enable retail therapy, or are we actually in need of this again that we want to purchase? I just want to also, based on something that you said a bit earlier, Mike, where you mentioned have a look at your credit score quarterly. The fact of the matter is, when we apply for credit, our entire credit history becomes visible to lenders. That is what lenders do, or the banks do. They pull your credit history data, and they see it, and that is what they base the credit decisions on. Looking at your credit score, they assess your affordability. So as a consumer, would it not make sense for me then to be the first one to know if there's something that's not positive on my personal data before the bank sees it? How can I have the answer to the question before I even ask the question to the bank? And This is what we created with Experian's Up app. We've created a mechanism for consumers to know what's going on in their personal data, because it's my data after all. and then know what my financial standing is when it comes to credit, even before the bank pulls the data from the bureau. And that is exactly what Up enables. Up
Yeah.
enables consumers to get access for free forever to not just their credit score, but their full credit report. And that's really empowering for consumers.
Ans, I love what you say. Be in control first. Get to know what's happening in your own portfolio first. And what a lot of people don't know, and which I've learned over the past few years with Experian, is that you're in control of your own credit report. Experian is not in control of your report. You are in control of your report. And you can change anything at any time that you want to. But if you don't know what's happening on it, you can't change. And the foundation of success is to understand it, to know it, and see how you can maximize. Because the importance of a good credit score is, we know it. The importance of a good credit score is you can negotiate better rates, you can get funding easier and quicker, and you can get better rates. And the whole point is that you're in control of that. So very importantly, we need to do that. So I urge everybody, and somebody just asked the Ans, what is the app called? And please, everybody, it's the Experian Up app. We're going to show a video after this discussion. Please download it. It's my reference point on my phone. I have a habit of looking at it kind of once a week because I find it incredibly easy to use, and it's hugely beneficial. So please, if you haven't downloaded the app, do yourself a favor, do your business a favor, and do your family a favor, and tell your friends. It's incredibly important. It's the foundation. I know I'm going on about it a bit more because I'm in the hot seat of where I assist thousands of business owners, and it's my passion to make sure every business owner stays in business, grows, so they can employ others. So I really urge you, encourage you to do that. Now, Ans, what resources are available to help individuals manage debt?
So that you've mentioned it now, Mike. The key thing that I would encourage consumers and small business owners to do is to register for Up. And maybe just to clarify, you won't find Up on the App Store on your phone. It's a website, and there's a very specific reason why we did it like that. Having a website is actually a bit lighter on the data side, so it's a bit more accessible and affordable for consumers to go look at the website. So the website that you need to go to is www.up.experian.co.za, and you can then create a shortcut to your home screen on the website itself, so it renders like an app, feels and it navigates exactly like an app does, but it's a bit cheaper on the data end. So that's my first recommendation. Please go register for Up. And now I'll qualify why I say that. We've been going on and on about the credit score and the credit report, which is downloadable from the website or from Up. But also, we've got some awesome educational content on Up. So there's different ways in which we do these education drives. The first, and I think the funnest one for me in any case, is through our Geleza apps. So these are characters that really go through life's changes, that need to deal with the usual consumer stuff that you and I need to deal with, Mike. And it doesn't only speak to credit, right? It speaks to things like saving or budgeting or just planning for what's coming next. What does financial goal setting look like? There's even a few modules on starting a small business. So for all the enthusiastic entrepreneurs on the call, go have a look at those content elements on there, specifically on the Geleza apps. So that's the funnest thing for me in terms of the educational elements on there. But there's also videos. We've got articles that's updated regularly. So lots and lots of articles. There's a bit more detail in those. So if you maybe regard yourself as a bit more experienced when it comes to financial wellness, go have a look, see at our articles on there. You may learn a thing or two. So that's really the key elements that's available on the app. But Mike, there's something else available on Up as well that's not as apparent when you first enter onto the platform. So when you register and when you check your credit score, you need to share your ID number with us. So for registering, you don't need to share the ID, but obviously when we pull your credit score for you, you need to share your ID. Now, once you've done that for free, you will be notified whenever there is an inquiry made on your personal credit record on the Experian platform. So that means anytime that there's somebody looking at your data, probably with the intent of you buying a credit product from this entity, you will be notified. Furthermore, the consumer is notified every time a new account is opening on their identity. So these are extremely powerful tools to fight fraud. So, Mike, we've seen since the pandemic, and I keep mentioning it, sorry, but since the pandemic, consumers have been really migrating towards a life where we purchase and engage in digital fashion. So online purchasing, online transactions, that's become really a thing of our modern living, right? So I think COVID probably expedited that migration into the digital trading platforms. But with that, we've seen an increase in fraud incidents. That is when your identity is sort of stolen. This identity theft is what we call it. And then fraudsters would use your personal data to open credit accounts and to use that to transact. And in the end, you as the consumer would still need to make good on that credit commitment, but you didn't even have the benefit of the credit agreement. And I'm saying credit here, but on the bureau, we see more than just a personal loan or a credit card record. We also see retail accounts. We see short-term insurance data. We have telco contract information. So every time such a product is opened on your identity, you will be notified about it free of charge. So again, I would really encourage consumers and small business owners to register for app so you can see what's happening on your personal data and get notified if there's a new account opening, so that you can also fight fraud. That's the idea behind this, to keep your personal finances safe as well from the attacks of fraudsters. So those, I believe, is really strong reasons for us to register for app.
I'll tell you why I call it an app is because it's on my bookmark. It's like opening an app. It's so important. So I click it on here. I'm looking at my phone now. So I know you register for of course, for app, and keep it on your bookmark, and it's there at your reference point at any time you need it. Thank you for that answer. It's so critically important, and we should all do it. And I must tell you, for everybody from the NSBC side, there's no agenda from Experian side, and the agenda is quite simply to help you to become financially fit. So please, if you haven't registered for it, it's just a no-brainer. It's such an important tool, and it's a must-do. And how can we promote responsible credit use and financial literacy?
So again, to this one, Mike, I believe app is the answer. If we take ownership of what we're doing from a financial perspective, then we are in the know of where we are and where we're going. So a crucial element on app that I haven't spoken of yet is our budgeting tool. This also is free of charge. So you just download the app or go to the website and register. And then you've got access to this budgeting tool. So as you would expect, in the budget, there is income elements and there's expenditure elements, which is completed by the user. So no surprises there. But we've also added a facility whereby your bureau visible commitments. So the expenses that you have to honor, considering the credit commitments that you have in play, are also included into your budget. So you don't even have to wonder what your repayment should be on your credit card, for example. That's already automatically included in your budget from the bureau information. So that really enables responsible financial behavior for consumers. And not just that, Mike, we keep the history on there. So you can see how you've improved on sticking to your budget over time. So maybe when you initially start out with this discipline, you find that although you budgeted something, your actual behavior didn't actually stick to that plan. Budgeting is nothing other than a plan, and we need to stick to it for the plan to really take effect, right? And usually if we start with this discipline, we make a few mistakes. But then as we progress through the process and repeat it, disciplined, you'll see I keep repeating that word, the discipline element of budgeting, we find that we will get better and better at honoring And yeah, firstly honoring our debt commitments, but then also sticking to the plans that we make for ourselves, because we ourselves are the people that's going to benefit from sticking to our budget. So there's this budgeting tool on up. And again, I would really encourage people to make use of that, to see firstly where your money is going, but then secondly also to get better at it. You know what I think a budget actually is, Mike? A budget is the tool that you use so that you don't have to wonder at the end of the month where your money went, but so that you can tell your money where to go. That's what the budget is.
I love that comment. I've got a WhatsApp coming through here before my next question. Someone's asking me, Ans, is it? I've got a credit on my credit card. Is it good to use it or not to use it, or what percentage do I need to use? How does it affect my credit score? It's quite a good question, isn't it?
Very good question indeed. So we speak about revolving credit here at the Bureau, and a credit card is a prime example of that. So that means that there's a pocket of money available for a consumer, and the consumer can get access to that pocket of money at any time, pretty much. So utilization is the other technical word that we use here at the Bureau, is the degree to which a consumer actually utilizes that pocket of money that's available on the credit card. And 100% spot on, utilization of revolving credit is one of the factors that feed into many credit scorecards. So you really don't want to overutilize your credit on such revolving credit products. Now, depending on the scorecard that we're looking at, there's different percentages. So I would not stick out my neck to say exactly what the percentage should be for a specific credit score. But the idea is not to utilize all of the available credit on your credit card. That could, depending again on the scorecard that's being used for the specific mechanism that you're being assessed on, that could detrimentally affect your credit score.
Okay, so possibly using a third of it and then at the end of the month paying that back in full is quite a good scenario. But as you say, it's you don't want to sit there with, you've got 2 credit cards and it's maximized out, and you pay the minimum amount back every month. I wouldn't imagine that's great for your credit score.
No, that's not good at all. But then on that point also, Mike, it's good to utilize that credit facility, because remember what a credit score is. It is a score that represents your credit behavior. So if we from the Bureau side have a time series of information that says, this is Mike, he has a credit card, number one. Number two, he utilizes it. And number three, I can see that he repays it. So there's a repayment history on that. Now that would stand Mike in good stead, because that would be a good input in his credit score.
So on the other side, what you're saying, Ans, I know it's not part of the discussion, but I know we're getting, my WhatsApp's going crazy. Is that now, if I've got, let's say, a credit facility of 10,000 and I never ever used it, it's not that good for my credit score. But if I use, let's say, out of 10,000, I use 3,000 Rand a month and I pay it back every month, that's pretty good for my credit score, I would imagine.
That's very good for your credit score, 100%. So that's the kind of behavior that we track on the Bureau. Remember, what is a credit score other than your credit reputation? So one of my colleagues had coined that phrase, and I absolutely love it, a credit reputation. That's what a score is. But you can't build a reputation if you don't have the history or the behavior in your history. We have to have that behavior in our history to boost our credit reputation. And that's exactly what this boils down to. So if you have a credit card, yes, use it, but please pay it and don't overutilize it. So don't max it out. That's the way that we usually speak about credit, right? Don't max it out. Don't use all of it.
I've got a great trademark application here, Ans. Use it, but don't abuse it.
Yep. That's the one.
But and to all our attendees out there, this is the discussion we have with Experian daily and for many years. And this is the kind of insights that have never been provided or given to business owners and consumers out there. Historically over the years, when someone applies for funding, whatever funding, vehicle, home loan, whatever, is that the application gets accepted or gets declined. And there's never been a reason why it's been declined. And I think with Experian, I know with Experian and NSBC together, we've changed the playing field around that. We've helped our institutions, all the funders out there, the banks, to give reasons and to provide insights why it's been declined, and to give the business owners an opportunity to fix it and come back a week later. And so the days are going where declined and that's it. The playing field has changed now. It's declined because of this, and this. Please fix it, Mike, and come back to us in a week's time and let's re-engage. And that's really what it is. But it comes down to our responsibility as consumers and business owners to really take charge of it. And what Ans has been talking about this morning is follow these principles. Register with Up and follow it and see what you can. Make a hobby out of fixing it and improving it, and see how you can lift that credit score. And that's so important. Now, I've got a final question for you, Ans. What other important trends are we seeing? Cybercrime, anything else that comes to mind?
Yeah. So this again, Mike, speaks to the whole idea of identity theft that we spoke of a bit earlier. And I made mention of the fact that we notify consumers the moment that there's a new account opened on their credit profile. But also, if there's an inquiry that comes through to the Experian Bureau, we will also notify consumers that are registered with us. So definitely, in an attempt to sort of frustrate fraud, which really been on the increase of late with the high amount of digital transactions that's been happening, that's one of the key things that we have available on Up. But I'm also very, very happy to share with our listeners and viewers today that Experian is building a new product that we will also plug into the Up solution, whereby consumers would be enabled to view which of their personal information is compromised on the dark web. So that is not live yet. We are in the final stages of that. So watch this space. Later this year, if you are registered for Up, you will see a new baby appearing there on the platform, and it is our dark web monitoring service. We will call it Up Shield. So keep a lookout for Up Shield. That will be coming soon, and that will be a paid for service, however. But consumers will be able to see which parts of their personal information is compromised on the dark web. So that's something interesting to look out to.
That certainly sounds interesting, Ans. And Ans Gerber, of course, your insights, your passion, Experian, we thank you for this morning, and your insights, I know, has made a big difference to many out there. And I must urge everyone out there, I've got one final question here. My question is for Ans: is credit or debit loan fixed on inflation or interest rate hikes? If so, I believe that is the reason for our sluggish economy. Any comment on that, Ans?
Yeah, especially when it comes to something like a home loan. I mean, we would get an announcement of an interest rate increase today, and then tomorrow you get a letter from the bank saying that there's an increased payment on your home loan. So secured credit specifically is prone to show an increase in that. Unsecured credit, where we speak about things like personal loans or credit cards or retail lending products, retail cards, are not as prone to interest rate increase sort of adjustment shortly after such an announcement. Although in the long run, it will impact, obviously, on the interest rates that's associated with new products being open. But when it comes to secured credit, which, mind you, Mike, is the more expensive credit products, that has an immediate impact on our repayment amounts. So, that is 100% part of the reason why consumers are battling the way we are battling. And Mike, if I just may respond to something else you said a bit earlier. You made mention of the business show that's going to happen again in September this year. Yes, Experian will be there, and usually we come out in full force. We have a lot of consumer care agents there on the floor for those 2 days. So if anybody has a need to engage with a consumer care agent from Experian directly, we shall be there. Please come and visit us. That's one of the funnest things I do as well in the calendar year. I remember last year, I've never worked as hard in my life, but it's awesome to engage with the people and the small business owners in person to see what they're battling with and to help them understand what's going on in their credit. We will also on the day have available not just consumer care agents that will help with personal finances, but we will also have experts there on the floor that can help with business finance things. So please, guys, come join us, come meet us. one of the awesomest things I do in the calendar year, as I said.
Yeah, and it's just on the business show Africa, I'll just give you some insight, and I've just been informed. Last year we had over 25,000 delegates. Delegates are business owners throughout South Africa. Today we're already just on 16,000 delegates, and the campaign hasn't even started yet. So it's going to be massive. And I know you're a major player there, Experian, and I know there's going to be a global first launch at the Access to Finance Zone, powered by Experian in association with FinFind. It's all about what you need to do, how to access, and where to get funding from now. It's going to be absolutely mind-blowing, if I may say that. It's a must-do. And many people say to me, Ans, what I gained from the business show in 2 days, I can't gain in 10 years. So really, if you haven't registered, now's the time to do that. It's really on track, and it's only a few weeks to go. I think it's just on 5 weeks to go. We're heading towards spring, and please, and to answer, your insights and your passion, I'm truly grateful for your time this morning, and to Experian as an organization so powered behind small business and SMEs. I'm thankful for that, and I thank you for your time, and to all our delegates out there. Our attendees this morning, without you, we can't do what we do, and so we're truly grateful for your presence this morning and for listening, and I hope that you found it insightful and of course meaningful to you and your business. And I'm going to say goodbye, but please don't leave until you've seen the video on Experian Up, and have a look at that, and please register if you haven't already, and make it a hobby. It's important to you and your business. Ans, thank you for your time. Truly appreciate it.
Thanks.
Great stuff right here. Ish, such a nice fridge. I wish I could have it and replace that junk I have at home.
What's your credit score like, Tamla?
Credit score? I don't know those things. I will have to check with my banker.
No, bro. You don't need a banker to know your credit score. Just register with Up, powered by Experian. It will help you in situations like this.
Up? I don't know anything about it. How much do they charge to check the credit score?
Up is a progressive web application where you can register and create a profile for free. You can do personal credit report checks and use financial tools to improve your financial condition.
I don't understand this financial lingo stuff.
Yeah, that's why Experian created Geleza cartoons in the app. These are fun cartoons to help you adapt to the financial lingo in seconds.
Oh, cool. Look at this funny looking one. He has a big head. Hey, wait a minute. That's you.
Oh, your credit score isn't so bad. You can probably get this fridge. Let's go talk to the sales guy and see if he can get you a good interest rate.
Dude, there's a cartoon on this app talking about interest rates. This is incredible.
Oh, congratulations on your fridge. Don't forget the budgeting tool in Up for monthly repayments now that the credit is approved.
Budgeting tool in the app as well. Nice. Hey, what's this?
Up alerts users if there is a new account opening on their profile.
Let me get this straight. This app, I get my credit score and full credit report. And then there's Geleza, financial cartoon courses. Also, built-in budgeting and saving tools. All this with email alerts to keep me updated. A really powerful app indeed.
Come on. Content. Subscribe to our channel, hit the notification bell, and like our posts.